Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a video on a historical moment in chess. In the year 2019, Fallon Sherrock became the first female to win a match at the PDC World Championships, and I'm talking about darts here. Not sure if all my viewers know what darts is, throwing arrows at a board, but that was a big moment in the world of sports, and you can see Fallon Sherrock there on the right hand side of the thumbnail. Of course, we have gone way past that in the world of chess. Female chess players beating their male counterparts at a high level of competition has been happening for many decades, but we can still see the participation of Grandmaster Aleksandra Goryachkina in the open section of the Russian Superfinal in October 2021 as a historical breakthrough in chess. It's the first time a female player has qualified for the open section. Yes, Goryachkina qualified, it's not that she received a wild card. She came through the qualifying rounds, which was a grueling event, with Russia being the strongest chess country in the world. But she did it, and that's an amazing achievement and a historical moment in our game. Let's listen to the live broadcast of the Russian Superfinal with Grandmaster Shimanov and Miroshnichenko.
But indeed, I think this is the historical event because this is the first time, I believe,
ever,
when a woman participates in the open section.
Yeah. So Aleksandra Goryachkina made it through the qualification stage. It's not like an honorary place.
Aleksandra made a draw with the black pieces after a very long fight in round 1 of the Superfinal, and we're going to look at her game from round 2 in this video. The date is October 10th, 2021, and the venue is Ufa, the capital city of the Republic of Bashkortostan. Aleksandra Goryachkina is white and her opponent is Alexander Motilev. Aleksandra Goryachkina opened with a c-pawn. Alexander Motilev played c6, knight f3, d5, and we see a semi-Slav on the board after e6. e3 is the main move, the knight gets developed, queen to c2, and now the bishop gets developed to d6. Here many moves are possible. You can play bishop e2 or bishop d3. Those are the two main moves according to the database. But Goryachkina plays the third most popular option, which is b3. She's going to put that bishop on b2. Black castled, bishop e2, b6, and Goryachkina castled. The bishop got fianchettoed, and so does white's bishop. A queen move, rook in the center, rook fea from black, and now rook ad1 was played in the game between Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian in Wijk aan Zee in the super tournament there in 2009. But in this game, Goryachkina decided to push in the center. That one was taken, knight takes, and d takes. The queen takes on e4, and now bishop b4, attacking the rook on e1. That rook stepped aside, and now let's listen to a nugget of wisdom from the grandmasters in the live broadcast.
Yeah, like wants to play bishop a3, right? Because you want to end up playing c5, and you don't want to do it with bishop on b4, right?
So now we understand better why bishop a3 was played here. Those bishops came off the board, and knight jumped into e5. That knight was swapped. Goryachkina took back with the pawn, and the rook got centralized. Bishop f3, and now bishop a8. One of black's ideas is to push c6, c5. But can't do that as the bishop on b7 is unprotected. Now that the bishop is on a8, it is protected by the rooks. So we understand that move. Queen h4, queen f8, and both players made luft for their king. And let's listen to another insight from the grandmaster commentators on this position.
Okay, I mean, let's just show. h6 while white's to move, or king h2. Let's show that this, for instance, right? It doesn't seem to be much, but when it's the only open file and it's controlled by white, it's really a problem, right? This is d7 a lot. Yes, you have quite a trouble surviving such things.
So this is what was looked at. King h2, and then if black takes on d1, rook takes, c5 as planned, but you take on a8, rook takes a8 and rook d7. And as the Grandmasters explained, this is very unpleasant for black. He does not really want to get into a position like this, even though material is equal and there's no immediate win for white. In the game after h6, king h2 was not played, bishop e4 was Goryachkina's move, with the possible idea of pushing the f-pawn.
I think we just have to conclude that this is better for white, and this is better for white for a prolonged amount of time. Yeah, it's not like black plays a move or two and equalizes. So Motylev will have. I guess this is the most annoying thing about black's positions, that you can never really equalize. Right? Yeah. There are certain types of positions that doesn't matter what you do. I mean, it's like you're switching one worse position for the other. Yeah. And that's perhaps one of those examples.
c5 as planned, and now bishop g6. As Grandmaster Mirosnichenko explained, white would love to take on a8 instead, and then after rook takes a8, come into black's position on d7, but that is not possible, because there is a rook hanging with check on a1. Instead of taking on a8, Goryachkina played bishop g6, attacking the rook, rook stepped aside, and now rook a2 b1 from Goryachkina. She wants to take on d8, but that's not possible for that same reason. There is a rook hanging in the corner. That's why she played rook a2 b1. It's a pity she has to lose a tempo to make that move, but it is necessary. Bishop c6. Now Goryachkina takes on d8 as planned and plays rook e1. Rook f6 and rook e3, and let's have another assessment of this position from the Grandmasters.
It's an unpleasant position still. Remember we were talking black can change the position this way and that way, but just the choice between various somewhat unpleasant positions for black. It's definitely not equal yet.
So white is still calling the shots here. After rook e3, queen e7 was played on move 29. a4, that is just a move, said Grandmaster Mirosnichenko, and I have nothing to add to that. Rook f8, queen e5 and rook f6. Black decides that sitting and waiting is the best strategy in this position. Not easy to do for a human being. We always feel we have to do something active. But Motylev thought that this was the best way to go. Rook g3, the rook goes back, bishop c2, rook f6 again, and rook d3, the rook drops back. Rook d6, attacking the bishop on c6, which is unprotected, and attacking the pawn on e6 twice. So bishop d7 has to be played, and now a5. Very instructive. Breaking up the team on the queen side, as Grandmaster Sarawan would say. You can play queen d8 to protect that b6 pawn for a second time, but after a takes b6, a takes b6, things are still difficult for black. Motylev chose not to go for this line, which is self-pinning the bishop. Instead, after a5, he decided to take on a5. Goryachkina took on c5, bishop c8, and rook c6, offering a trade of queens. For the final time, let's get some Grandmaster perspective on this position.
Rook c6, another merciless move. Just, trading the queens, but in this case winning the a5 pawn, and still black struggles to, the problems don't really go away.
So queen takes c5, rook takes c5. That wins the a pawn, and black's problems have not gone away with the queen swap, as Grandmaster Shimanov put it. His a and e pawns are weak, and he will be a pawn down very soon. That a pawn is going to fall off the board. So after rook c6, Motylev decided not to swap the queens. He played queen d8 on move 38. All black's pieces are now on the back row, a sad sight. Rook c7 and a6, that's also a sad move to make. There are no active plans for black. He just has to sit and wait for white to finish him off. You can't play something active like queen d2 because you lose that bishop, and very importantly, the pawn on f2 is protected by the queen, so you cannot crash in on f2 looking for a perpetual. So a6 was played, and the 40th move from Goryachkina was king h2. Bishop d7, and now queen a7, and Motilev had enough and resigned. The grandmaster in the studio agreed that it's time to throw in the towel for black. They show this variation. Rook f7, you have to protect that bishop, which is attacked twice and only defended once. Then bishop g6, the rook has to keep the bishop protected, so rook e7 is the only move. And then many moves win, rook b7 is one of them. And black has no moves. If he plays the king, king f8, then there are many ways for white to win. Let's look at one example given by the engine. Then queen d4 is the strongest move according to the engine. Black still cannot move anything, and if you play king g8, then there is queen d6, and white is totally dominating this position. My engine is on +7. What a win from Aleksandra Goryachkina in a polished positional style in this historical event in chess history, with a female player playing in the open section of the national championships of the strongest chess country in the world. We've watched history in the making. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.
Very, very impressive game indeed.